Let's bring in Amber Taunton. Hello, Amber. How are you?
Thanks for having us.
Pre-planning solutions. Pre-planning for what?
Advanced funeral planning for funerals.
Oh,
funeral, cremation.
We're talking about the funeral stuff, not the financial stuff. You guys caught me off guard here. So we're pre-planning for the burial of loved ones or yourself.
Or yourself. Generally, the state of California has 7,100 rights. So you have the right to make the decisions for yourself first, and then for a spouse, and then your children can then make those decisions. But the key to that is if you don't take care of it in advance, and say you have 10 kids, you have to have 6 kids agree, otherwise they can't move forward. It has to be a majority of children to make a decision.
Well, wait a minute now. Are we talking about being cremated being a decision or being buried being a decision?
Yep.
And if you have 10 kids, 60% of them have to agree on the cremation or the burial, or what? The body stays...
It's the majority of children. So you have 2 children, both children have to agree. If you have 3 children, 2 of the 3. So it's the majority have to agree on form of disposition, burial versus cremation.
I hate to say it, but I bet that comes into play sometimes.
It comes into play a lot, especially in this day and age with families that, might be divided. Siblings don't speak to each other. So it's really just important to make those decisions in advance so that you take that factor out of play.
Well, the siblings not talking to each other, that's not just this day and age. That's been going on for a long time, right? Now, pre-planning. It's not really a morbid thing to do. I mean, it's a responsible thing to do.
It is. We plan ahead for retirement. We plan ahead for paying our taxes. We have it deducted out of our check or put money aside. You plan ahead for pretty much everything. None of us are getting out of a final disposition, whether you choose burial or cremation. So it's important to, one, relieve the emotional burden from your family.
For sure.
In addition, there is the financial component as well. It has to be paid for, and they will not perform services of any kind until that bill is paid for. So we all see the car washes and the Fund Me accounts.
I told my wife, if I die and you have a car wash for my funeral, I will come back and haunt you.
So you need to take care of it in advance. And you have the opportunity. Everyone's approved regardless of health. And you have the opportunity to pay for it over time instead of, oh shoot, somebody just passed away. Now we have to come up with a lump sum.
And let's be honest here. Over time, things get more expensive too. I don't want this to sound wrong, but you lock in your price now when you start your pre-planning.
Funeral costs double every 7 to 11 years. So, with cremation actually rising more rapidly, and not because of popularity, but because of laws requiring demands upon the funeral home in order to perform a cremation. So those will go up more significantly than traditional burial. So it is, as soon as you make your first payment, say you went on a 10-year payment plan, because that's what your budget will allow, you lock in your price at 2015 pricing. And God forbid something were to happen to you 3 years from now. The funeral is paid in full, and the balance of the payments are forgiven, because it is placed into an insurance product.
So if you die before you've paid it off, there's an insurance product built into there that pays off the balance because of your untimely passing.
Correct.
Okay, let's get into this. How much does it cost?
Every plan is different because your wishes will be different.
Like you might want a nicer casket than the less nice casket.
You'll have your more costly caskets. Michael Jackson's casket, for instance, $35,000. Average consumer
pretty good
doesn't
for a guy
do
that was
that.
broke when he died, huh?
Average consumer doesn't necessarily go with the solid Promethean bronze casket. So, but that can range from one funeral home to the next. You can go with wood or metal caskets.
You can go in the ground or above ground.
You can go in a dirt burial or in a mausoleum burial. Right. With cremation, you can have a full traditional service with your body present in a casket for the service itself, your visitation, your service. If you're Catholic, you can still have your rosary and Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of going to the cemetery, the service concludes and the body is then taken for the cremation process, which a lot of families don't know.
You know,
they can do that.
I kind of like that one. Just because with the urn, sometimes it's a little tough for me.
Well, and it gives the family and friends and survivors the opportunity to begin that grieving process and say goodbye. You know, a good friend of mine passed away about a year ago, and I never got to see her. So it's still, you know, I know she's gone, but I never got to say goodbye. She did have a service, and I attended that, but it's something about seeing that person, for me,
One last time.
You know, and that's up to you, too. I have people that tell, I do not want to be seen, I want to have a memorial service. So there's anything from your traditional funeral burial with the full body casket, or you have your, what we often call a service of remembrance, where the body is present for a cremation, a memorial service in which the cremation process takes place first and the urn is present, as you mentioned. And then oftentimes we see what's called a direct cremation, where we pick up the body, the cremation process takes place, and the ashes are immediately returned to the family. And again, that doesn't offer any type of memorial service. And that often happens because families didn't plan ahead, and that's all they can afford. It's not necessarily their first choice.
And it's just a horrible time to have to make decisions.
Exactly.
It really is. And I'm horrible at funerals. I could go to someone's funeral I don't even know and just bawl my eyes out. So I don't get upset for the deceased. I'm upset for the living.
Right.
You know, the ones that are hurting. That's the ones that I feel for.
Well, and you figure it's such an emotional time, and there's things we plan ahead for everything. The decisions for a funeral happen within less than a week. A wedding that has all the same types of decisions, a location, a reception location, flowers, merchandise, music, clothing, all the same decisions you make for a wedding, you make for a funeral, and people plan weddings for a year or more. And you plan a funeral in less than a week. And so a lot of times when it's not planned ahead, the family either can't agree, they are making emotional decisions and overspending. So there's a lot of advantages. I've had families that come in and say, you know, oh, I've got plenty of life insurance, I've got, you know, money's not going to be an issue. Well, money's not the only issue. It's really an emotional issue. And taking that burden off your family.
Okay. Do they talk to you? Do people talk to you? Are you the one they talk to?
They talk to me. I have a team of family service directors, and we represent partner funeral homes up and down the valley. And for today's show, any family that contacts us and completes their funeral plan, whether they choose burial or cremation, we will provide a $25 gift card to every family who completes their plan.
Amber, thank you very much for coming
problem.
on the show and making a hard thing to talk about pretty easy.
Well, we have a great time doing it. I laugh more often than not doing this because people will say, oh, you know, I want my cremated remains put in a tequila bottle. Okay, sure, we can do that as long as you fit.
As long as you fit. All right, what's the phone number over there?
You can reach us at 1855-EASY-TO-PLAN or 392-7526.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for coming on.
No problem.
Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break.